Well, Daulton Varsho certainly made his presence felt in the series between the Boston Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays. His presence was felt in this series as well between the Guardians and the Blue Jays. Blue Jays game recap starts right now.
The Blue Jays are back, and right now, with the game having gone final, we are welcoming you in to Blue Jays Game Recap on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Now, let's go to your hosts of Blue Jays Game Recap, Thomas McGregor, Ali Musa, and Scott McGregor in the Sports for Beginners podcast studio. Take it away, gentlemen, because when the umpire says, "You're out," or "That's the game," or "Let's play ball," we know it's time for some baseball. This is Blue Jays Game Recap. Take it away, gentlemen.
What's going on, Blue Jay fans? What's going on, Guardians fans? Oh, I almost mentioned the name that dare speak its name that Cleveland has changed its name to. They have changed their name to the Guardians. They were for a short time, well, actually, no, a long time. I don't know exactly how long it had been for the Cleveland Baseball Club before they changed their name to the Guardians. But for a long time, before they were going to be known as the Cleveland Baseball Team, they were known as the Cleveland Indians for a while. Cleveland Guardians is what we are talking about. Our managers. Where are my manners, Blue Jays fans and Guardians fans? Where are my manners? I am Scott McGregor, your host of the program. Welcome in. For those who are joining us through this recap, even if you're joining us when you're trying to check out Guardians and Nationals, just for anyone who's not aware, the Guardians will be making up tonight's game against the Nationals as part of a doubleheader. The makeup will be on May 6th, which is tomorrow, 2025. For all those who were celebrating during the series when this was going on, Star Wars event, which was an event that we do every May the 4th. For those of us who celebrate and are Star Wars fans, it was May the 4th be with you, which is a Star Wars occasion for all those Star Wars fans out there. Hope you had a wonderful day on that Sunday, May the 4th, 2025. May the 4th be with you. Alrighty. Moving on, it's the Guardians and the Blue Jays. The series began on the weekend, starting on Friday, May 2025. The 3-game set with the Nationals for the Guardians was supposed to begin tonight, but will begin tomorrow as part of a doubleheader. They will then play on Wednesday afternoon, but we will get into that later. All right, let's get into the game. If you heard the opener of our Double Trouble on Blue Jays Game Recap, we were talking Red Sox and Blue Jays. Well, now it's time to wrap up the homestand on this Double Trouble. Let's go into the game. First, as always, we'll jump into our coaching, and I'll jump also into our meeting on the mound. Stephen Vogt is your manager of the Cleveland Guardians. He goes against John Schneider, who is the manager of your Toronto Blue Jays. Some quick transactions to look at before we go any further. As of today in May, the Guardians making some moves on May 2nd. They designated right-handed pitcher Vince Velasquez for assignment. And then just about the end of the series with the Blue Jays, they sent him outright to the Columbus Clippers. They also selected the contract of right-handed pitcher Matt Fiesta from the Columbus Clippers. On the same day, they designated right-handed pitcher Vince Velasquez for assignment, which would end up going to the Columbus Clippers on May 4th. All right. Those are just some transactions from May so far. For the Blue Jays, quite a couple of transactions, including a couple of them going down today on May 5th, 2025. Of course, the series itself went from the 2nd of May to the 4th of May. During that day, right-handed pitcher Casey Lawrence of the Blue Jays elected free agency, so he is a free agent right now. The Blue Jays also optioned left-handed pitcher Josh Walker to the Buffalo Bisons. That was as of today. It was not as of this series. The Blue Jays signed right-handed pitcher Spencer Turnbull and right-handed pitcher Jose Urena. They have also transferred right-handed pitcher Max Scherzer from the 15-day injured list to the 60-day injured list. And the other pitcher for the Blue Jays that has been sent from the 15-day injured list to the 60-day injured list is right-handed pitcher Eric Swanson. All right, enough gab. Coaches, as mentioned, Stephen Vogt and John Schneider in terms of managers. Here we go. Our line score for each game. All these games did not see extra innings. Minus the team comparison, we're just going to go over hits, errors, and runs. For the Blue Jays, who won Friday night's game 5-3, 5 runs on 9 hits, 1 error in the game for Toronto. For the Cleveland Guardians, 3 runs on 9 hits, 2 errors. In game number 2, for the Cleveland Guardians, 5 runs on 4 hits, no errors. For your Blue Jays in game number 2, 3 runs on 8 hits, no errors. And in game number 3, line score, hits, runs, and errors. For the Cleveland Guardians, 5 runs on 10 hits, 2 errors. For the Toronto Blue Jays, 4 runs on 7 hits, no errors. The meeting on the mound, in this one, the first game's meeting on the mound was Chris Bassett against Logan Allen, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Logan Allen. He would get the start in game number 1. Chris Bassett gets the start in game number 1 for the Blue Jays. Game number 2, our matchup on the mound was Kevin Gausman against Gavin Williams. And it should be noted that Jose Ramirez would not play game 2 or game 3 of the series after something quite awkward happened in game number 1. We'll get to that in just a moment. But of course, we're going to take a break. Before we get to the break, your final matchup was Bowden Francis against Tanner Bybee. Tanner Bybee was the starter for Cleveland in game number 3. All right, the pitching line for Toronto and Cleveland coming up later. But first, it's time, now that we've gone over the line score and the managers, and of course our meeting on the mound, it is time for us to break the game down. And we will do that after a short break and a word from our friends at On the Ice and Behind the Benches. Back after this with a quick word from our friends at On the Ice and Behind the Benches, Cleveland Guardians and Blue Jays on Blue Jays Game Recap, a double trouble edition on Sports for Beginners, will continue in a matter of moments.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo. Two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Hello? How are you, my friend? Why? What's the matter? Why feeling bored and lonely? Look! Look at me! I am always happy. The only reason? I can tell you, it's because I listen to CNT Radio. All the best shows you can think of. The Melting Pot, the Cosmopolitan Culture Club, and the Song Bank. There are also many more new shows to come. Please make sure to visit her website at http://sienna-wordpress.com/sienna-radio. Oh, now I can hear you more cheerful.
CNT Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches. Welcome back to Blue Jays Baseball, Blue Jays game recap on Sports for Beginners, the podcast. This is part 2 of our Double Trouble. Without further delay, let's jump right in to Guardians versus Blue Jays game 1. At the start of this series, the Cleveland Guardians were 18 and 13, and the Blue Jays were 16 and 15. They were 15 and 16, excuse me. Coming out of game number 1, the record for the Blue Jays is 16 and 16, and the Cleveland Guardians are 18 and 14 coming out of game number 1. How did it all go down? Let's find out, shall we? We begin our scoring of this game in the top of the second inning with a Carlos Santana home run, his third home run of the season, a solo shot to right field. In the bottom of the third, however, a 2-run single by Alejandro Kirk scores Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Anthony Santander, so the Blue Jays will take the lead in the bottom half of the third inning. After the top half of the second inning, the Blue Jays went behind 1-0. They will take the lead in the bottom half of the third inning. In the fourth inning, Bo Naylor, we saw him later in the series as well. He did not play, I don't believe, in game number 2, but I'll double check just to make sure. He did play in game number 1 and also tied the game up at 2 runs apiece with a solo shot of his own, his 5th home run of the year, top of the 4th, and the Blue Jays are now tied with the Guardians. Speaking of home runs, George would answer later in the bottom of the 5th inning, so after nothing happened in the top of the 4th, he would answer with a solo shot of his very own. and the Blue Jays will take a 3-2 lead. To the top of the 6th we go, and Carlos Santana, a home run already under his belt, to make sure I have that right. Yes, he did hit a home run in the early stages of the game. A one-run single puts the Guardians back in a tie with the Blue Jays. A nice single by Carlos Santana scores Daniel Schneidman, who replaced Jose Ramirez after an interesting play left Ramirez on the ground in what looks like he sprained his ankle on a bizarre play at first base when that happened. So certainly hope that Jose Ramirez is okay, but he took a nasty fall. To the bottom of the 8th we go, and this is where the scoring will finish off here. A 2-run single off the bat of Nathan Lucas, scoring Daulton Varsho and George Springer. Of course, there was an error that occurred during one of these scoring plays, and that was on a throwing error by Steven, who was in left field at the time. And that happened early in the 3rd inning. Now, again, a key kind of moment in this game was Jose Ramirez. He was hurt in the game on a bizarre play at first base. So we certainly hope he is okay. The only error of the game would be charged to the only error of the ball game for the Blue Jays would be charged to Chris Bassett in the inning of which this occurred in, but it was a very awkward kind of play when you look at it. Very awkward play there by Chris Bassett to Jose Ramirez. Ramirez would be taken out of the game, but it was great to see him being able to kind of walk under his own power. And I do recall during this game, Ramirez was down for quite a while. I also recall the fact that we almost had to have him, I won't say stretchered off, but we would have had to have him taken off the field by a cart. So very thankful that was not the case. But still, wish all the best for Jose Ramirez and very hopeful that he can still play baseball. All right, so that's game 1 of the 5-3. You'd expect the Guardians to come back, right? And do the same thing? Well, that's exactly what they did in game number 2. And since we got a little bit of time here, let's go right on in. We talked about the line score for each game right off the jump of the game after we went over the meeting on the mound, and of course we went over a bunch of other things like the fact that we have our managers in Stephen Vogt and John Schneider. Went over a couple of transactions early on before we got into the game breakdown, and of course we went over the meeting on the mound as well. All right, let's get into it. So this time, the Blue Jays get things started. Bo Bichette, his first home run of the year, leads off our scoring summary. Fly ball into center field, left center field, that is, and the Blue Jays will take a 1-0 lead. Fast forward, bottom of the 3rd, Nathan Lucas draws a walk. Anthony Santander, who was on third base at the time, will score on the play. George Springer was at second during the play. He moves over to third. And Addison Barger, who was at first base, has moved to second base on the play. Bottom of the 5th we go. Blue Jays up 2-0 already. Bottom of the 5th we go, and Tyler Heineman out on a sacrifice fly. Ernie Clement, shout out to my boy Ernie, scores very close. It's very close. This could still have been 2-0 Toronto, but it's maybe it's not that close. But Ernie is able to score on the play to make it 3-0 Toronto. We mentioned Daniel Schneidman came in to fill in for Jose Ramirez in game number 1 of the Cleveland Guardians series with the Blue Jays. Well, in game number 2, fast forward to the top of the 8th, and the Guardians are on the board. Daniel Schneidman, his 3rd home run of the season. He hits number 4 of the season in the top of the ninth. So not only does he get Cleveland on the board, but he also ends up scoring the final 3 runs that, I should say the final 4 runs that take this game in Cleveland's favor. Bo Naylor, Steven Kwan, and Gabriel Arias score on the play. And just like that, the Blue Jays had a 3-0 lead. And after the second home run of the ball game for Daniel Sheedman, a grand slam for his 4th home run of the season, puts Cleveland out in front by 2. So the Blue Jays beat Cleveland by 2 on Friday night. On Saturday afternoon, Cleveland beats the Blue Jays by 2 to improve their record to 19-14. Blue Jays record goes to 16-17. It was 15-16 at the end of the series with the Red Sox. At the end of game 1, it was 16-16 with a win. The Guardians came in with a record of 18-15. They went to 18-14. After game number 2, however, they are 19-14. Blue Jays are 16-17. That record would go to 20-14 for the Guardians, and the Blue Jays would go to 16-18 in game number 3 and the final game of the season series between the two squads in Toronto. But we'll get to game 3 on the other side of a quick commercial break, and from there we will go to the pitching line for 1, 2, and 3. Also, I will take another look around the league at our standings, including the National League this time. But again, as we speak, Guardians and the Nationals records staying right where they are, as today's game on May the 5th has been postponed and will be part of a makeup date tomorrow on Tuesday, May 6th, 2025. You might be hearing this double trouble on Tuesday by this time, but you know what? That's okay. Game 3, scoring of Cleveland versus Toronto, pitching line for all 3 contests, top performers and players of the game, all of it next on Blue Jays Game Recap. Stay with us. Players of the series are also right around the corner, and of course, upcoming series for Toronto and Cleveland. Blue Jays Game Recap returns shortly.
I wonder if I could make it. It's almost getting to 8 o'clock p.m., and I am still a few more steps away from home to get to my computer to listen to CNT Radio's Cosmopolitan Culture Club. The best of the best music from around the world. Can't wait. I think I made it. CNT Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
We welcome everyone back into Blue Jays Game Recap. Blue Jays and the Guardians, the topic of conversation. Early on our Double Trouble, we had our topic of conversation faced around Alex Cora's Red Sox and John Schneider's Blue Jays. Your Blue Jays, Blue Jay fans. Hopefully you could check those out. I'll check this one out as well. And of course, we're going to now get into game number 3 scoring, and our pitching line is coming up for all 3 games as well. Also coming up on this segment of the show, it's time for our players of the series. But before we get to any of that, as we are nearing the closing moments of our show, where we get you set up for our next Blue Jays Game Recap and other things, we jump right on in. Let's jump right on into game number 3's breakdown. And this is actually currently where both records for both teams stand heading into their series that is upcoming. Of course, tonight, the Guardians were supposed to begin a 3-game set with the Washington Nationals, but rain prevented it. So they will play a doubleheader with the Nationals tomorrow. All right, here we go. Our top of the third is where we begin in this one, which was on Sunday. For all those going to Rogers Center, this is a day for kids, where kids 14 and under can run the bases just like their favorite Blue Jay. It used to be called, when I was younger, it used to be called Junior Jay Saturdays, but it happens on Sundays nowadays, so it's called Junior Jay's Sundays. But we'll talk more about that on a season episode of Sports for Beginners. Stephen Kwan gets us started in this one, grounding out into a force out, I should say. Gabriel Arias scores on the play. 1-0 Cleveland. Cleveland takes a 1-0 lead. Top of the fourth we go, and a Daniel Sheenman double, his 5th double of the year, is a sharp line drive that scores Kyle Manzardo, and Carlos Santana will go to third on the play. 2-0 Guardians in the top of the fourth. A Gabriel Arias single scores 2 runs in the top of the fourth, and that puts Cleveland up 4-0 as Carlos Santana and Daniel Sheenman score on the play. However, Gabriel Arias was out at second thanks to the throw by the right fielder during this game, who was George Springer. 2 second basemen Andres Jimenez and Bo Bichette also got the ball to get him out. So he would be credited with a single to score a run, but also wind up out on the play as well. Bottom of the fourth we go, and it's Nathan Lucas who gets the Blue Jays on the board with his 2nd double of the year. On a line drive to left field, Stephen Kwan makes the play. Addison Barger scores on the play. Alan Roden will go to third on the play. And Nathan Lukes has himself a double. Andres Jimenez picks up a single. This puts the Blue Jays within 1, and it is scored by Alan Roden. And Nathan Lukes also scores on the play, deflected by Tanner Bybee, who was the pitcher at the time. Fast forward a couple innings, we go to the 9th. 4th Cleveland, and oh boy, the Blue Jays suffer a walk with Carlos Santana on base. I should say Carlos Santana was at the plate. Angel Martinez was at third. He will score on the play. Stephen Kwan was at second base. He goes to third. And Kyle Manzardo was at first base. He will move to second base to make room for Carlos Santana. The Blue Jays do get out of it, but they're down by 2 runs again. A sacrifice fly by Vladimir Guerrero Jr. gets the Blue Jays within 1, but they're still in need of a walk-off, and the Guardians will not allow that to happen. On the sacrifice fly, Andres Jimenez scores on the play. It's 5-4 Cleveland, and that is how it would stay. Blue Jays record as we sit here, getting ready for Angels and Blue Jays. And of course, the next series that we will be talking about on Blue Jays Game Recap against Seattle. We'll get to that later in the show. But the Blue Jays take 1 out of 3 against Cleveland. Cleveland takes 2 out of 3 in Toronto. So we shall see what the future holds when these two teams meet at Progressive Field in Cleveland later this year. All right. Time now for your top performers and your player of the game. In the Blue Jays 5-3 win over the Guardians on Friday night, May the 2nd, 2025, because Thursday was May 1st, 2025. Your top performers were Alejandro Kirk, 2 RBIs, 3 for 4. He was also voted the player of the game. George Springer was also a top performer for the Blue Jays. A home run, 2 walks, an RBI, 2 runs scored, and a stolen base. And Carlos Santana also in the top performers there. A home run, 2 RBIs and a run scored. He went 2 for 4 in the game. The winning pitcher was Brandon Little. His record 1-0. ERA coming out of the game 2.45. The loss to this man for Cleveland, Jacob Junis. We'll go with JJ in case I pronounced that wrong. And my apologies if I did or not. His record 0-1, an ERA of 4.11. The save went to Jeff Hoffman, his 7th save of the season. Jimmy Garcia picked up a save, I should say, during the Boston series. I forgot to mention that to you guys during the Boston Red Sox series, but that's okay. We didn't really focus on that. ERA for Jeff Hoffman, 1.10, coming out of this 5-3 win over the Guardians. All right, pitching line coming up in just a few seconds. Before we get there, let's keep this going with the top performers and player of the game. Blue Jays top performer in game number 2 was pitcher Kevin Gausman. 9 strikeouts, no earned runs, 1 hit given up, 6 innings of work. And the winning pitcher of game number 2, who went 4 innings, giving up 1 hit, 1 earned run, and 3 strikeouts, was also a top performer. The player of the game was Daniel Sheeman, 2 for 4, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, 2 runs scored. And that winner, by the way, was not the Cleveland Guardians starter. That was Colby Allard. Colby A, with a K and not a C, by the way, just to make sure I have that right. He got the win. His record 2-0. ERA 1.64. The loss went to Jimmy Garcia. His record 0-1, 2.45. And the win, I should say the save, went to Emmanuel Clase. His 6th save of the season. ERA is 6.28. Emmanuel Clase would get his 7th save of the season in game number 3. An ERA of 5.87. Auden Francis, his record would go from 2-4 to 2-5, ERA of 5.66. Tanner Bybee with a record of 2-2 moves up to 3-2, ERA at 4.26. And our top performers in game number 3. Speaking of that, for the First of all, for the Blue Jays in game number 2, in case you missed that was Kevin Gausman. Colby Allard with one of the top performers. And the player of the game was Daniel Sheeman. Game number 3, your player of the game was Gabriel Arias. 3 for 4 with a strikeout, 2 RBIs, and a run scored. He went 3-4. Kyle Manzardo, 2 for 3, 2 walks issued, a stolen base, and a run scored. And the solo player for the Blue Jays in top performers was Andres Gimenez, 2 for 4, 2 RBIs, and a run scored. Alrighty, let's get to our pitching line. And you know what? We're actually going to take a break. So when we come back, we will get into the pitching line for all 3 games. And then it's time for players of the series between the 2 squads of conversation, the Guardians and the Blue Jays. Following players of the series is our final timeout of the show, which will be 30 seconds, and a word from our friends over at Sienna T Radio. But before we jump the gun there, after this quick commercial break, we'll get to the players of the series pitching line, and then that will lead into the break. After that break, we will get into Cleveland and Toronto's next series, and on deck next time on Blue Jays Game Recap. Of course, we will also take a look at the standings for games gone final already and where standings sit still. This time we'll be focusing mainly on the National League, since we spent most of the time already looking at the American League. So we're going to go to the National League, but that coming up in a timeout time. After this break, Game 1, Game 2, and Game 3 pitching line, followed by players of the series, and of course, upcoming season series coming up as well, and on deck next time on Blue Jays Game Recap, also on the way as well. Stay tuned. Blue Jays Game Recap will return right after this. Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches
where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
Welcome back, Blue Jays game recap. Blue Jays and Guardians wrapping things up here on our Double Trouble Sports for Beginners edition of Blue Jays game recap. Time now for our pitching line. We'll start off with game number 3 and work our way to game number 1. From there on, we will talk players of the series, and of course, that shall lead us to our final commercial break of the program. This will be 30 seconds and be a word from our friends over at Sienna T Radio, making your day brighter one song at a time. Without further ado, let's get right down to business, shall we? Here we go. In game number 2, I should say 3, Tanner Bybee goes 5 innings, gives up 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 runs, 2 earned, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, finishes the game with an ERA of 4.26. His opponent on the other side, Bowden Francis, finishing the game going 4 1/3 inning with 6 hits given up, 4 earned runs, a walk, and 2 strikeouts. Finishes the game with an ERA of 5.66. Josh Walker, in one of his last games before he elected free agency, goes an inning and a third, gives up a hit and 2 strikeouts, an ERA of 7.20 coming out of the game. Dylan Tate into the game for the Blue Jays in this one, goes an inning, gives up 2 hits, 3 walks in the game, an ERA of 5.40. Yariel Rodriguez goes an inning and a third with a hit given up, a run given up, an earned run to the exact, a walk, and a strikeout, an ERA of 5.65. And Brandon Little walked 3 batters, struck out 1. He gets an inning and gets an ERA of 2.30. Pitchers on the Cleveland side include, I jumped ahead there with our game breakdown in the pitching line. That was a mistake. Oops. The first guy out of the pen in game number 3 would be Tim Herrin. An inning, 2.84 ERA, nothing given up. Tanner Bybee with 5 innings of work, 5 hits given up, 3 runs given up, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Next to pitch for the Guardians would be Cade Smith, who went an inning, struck out 1 Blue Jay, finished the game with an ERA of 1.08, 0.68 for this man, who would be next out of the Cleveland pen, Hunter Gladdick, picking up a inning, a hit, and a walk, and nothing more. He gives up a hit and, of course, a walk, and nothing more. And then Emmanuel Clase, 1 inning of work, a hit and a run given up, and 1 strikeout, an ERA of 5.87. In game number 2, the pitching line for Cleveland, Gavin Williams, 4 innings pitched, 7 runs given up, 2 earned, 5 walks in the game for him, 9 strikeouts, 1 home run given up, an ERA of 5.06. Next up would be Colby Allard, he picked up the win and also went 4 innings, giving up 1 hit, 1 earned run, 3 Ks, which are short for strikeouts, an ERA of 1.64. Emmanuel Clase, 1 inning of work, nothing really much to show for, but an ERA of 6.28. Kevin Gausman went 6 innings, giving up gave up 1 hit, struck out 9 Guardians, walked 1 Guardian, ERA of 3.83. Mason Fluharte would go 1 inning and give up, well, actually, no, he would only register a strikeout for an ERA of 2.08. Chad Green into the game, gives up a hit, a run, which was earned. 3 strikeouts, 1 home run. 4.20 was his ERA coming out of the game. 45 for Jimmy Garcia, who goes 2/3 of an inning. Gives up 2 hits, 4 earned runs, a home run, 2 strikeouts, and 2 walks. Yariel Rodriguez would finish things off, going a third. Of course, the ERA for Jimmy Garcia was 2.45. Yariel Rodriguez goes a third of the inning, strikes out 1 Guardian, ERA 5.54. Game number 1. What was our pitching line? Our pitching line was Chris Bassett, 5 1/3, 7 hits allowed, 3 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, 2 home runs, ERA of 2.95. Chad Green with an inning under his belt, nothing really given up, an ERA of 3.86. Brendan Little goes an inning and 2/3 with 1 hit given up and 1 strikeout registered, ERA of 2.45. Jeff Hoffman an inning, a strikeout, a walk, and a hit allowed, ERA of 1.10 at the end of the game. Logan Allen went 5 2/3, gave up 6 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, 4 strikeouts, 1 home run, an ERA of 4.02. No ERA for this pitcher for Cleveland, Matt Thesta, but he goes an inning and a third, giving up a hit and picking up a strikeout. Next up would be for Cleveland, Jacob Junis, 2/3 of an inning, gave up 2 hits, 2 earned runs, and a walk batter. 4.11 was his ERA. And last but certainly not least, it was Joey Cantillo. Joey Cantillo. I hope I pronounced that right. My apologies, Joey, if I pronounced the last name wrong. 1/3, an ERA of 2.20 at the end of the game. Not much given up. So there you have it, your pitching line. And that will bring us to the players of the series. Players of the series for this one, I'm going to go with, first of all, from game 1, I'm going to go with Carlos Santana. I thought he played pretty well, and he's definitely set the tone early in the second inning. And Alejandro Kirk answered the bell. Speaking of Alejandro Kirk did not catch game number 2, but he would catch the remainder of game number 3, as he would also not end up he would catch game number 3. He would not catch the remainder of game 3, as he would be replaced by Tyler Heineman. Heineman caught game number 2. But I thought Alejandro Kirk was pretty good in game number 1. So we got our players of the series coming out of game number 1. Carlos Santana, and of course, Alejandro Kirk. Kirk was pretty good in this series. Did he command very well the strike zone? I don't know. I'll let you decide. To me, I don't know. But I thought he played pretty well. Okay, maybe not in the loss, and maybe not in the loss on Sunday. Tyler Heineman, I thought he was playing okay in game number 2 as a catcher for the Jays, but honestly, you really gotta look at baseball and say, okay, situational hitting might win me the game. And a lot of the times you're looking at people saying, small ball, just play some small ball. To me, sometimes small ball can definitely win you I wouldn't say championships. What was the word I was looking for? Oh yeah, I'm not going to say it'll win you championships, but it will definitely give you an opportunity to win ball games, especially when it comes down to who's pitching, who's hitting, who's catching. It doesn't matter. All right, ladies and gents, our 30-second timeout has come, which means it's time to hear a word from our friends at Sienna T Radio. Final scores once again of all 3 games. Blue Jays beat the Guardians 5-3 in Friday's game on May 2nd, 2025. They lost May 3rd on Saturday 5-3 after beating the Guardians 5-3 on Friday. And on Sunday, they lost 5-4 to the Guardians. It's a very tight race, it looks like to me, in the American League when you look at things. But I'm going to have to look at them a little bit closer. Also, some of the news of the day: Ross Stripling has retired from baseball. So that's some interesting news to hear. Congratulations on an epic career for Ross Stripling. He had a really nice career. His time in Toronto, I don't know what to say about Ross's time in Toronto. So I'm just going to say nothing at all, especially if I don't have anything good to say. And of course, all things considered, we got to talk about, around baseball, we got to talk about some of the things that have happened so far. Well, Callahan exits with a broken left forearm after a nasty collision at the wall. In Atlanta, the Reds' rookie Tyler Callahan has broken his left forearm, I should say, during a hard crash into the wall. Mark Sheldon says this was as he tried to catch a fly ball near the foul line in the bottom of the third inning of tonight's game against the Braves. Atlanta led 2-0 with 2 outs when Braves, and I'll leave you to that. I'll leave it at 2-0 with 2 outs. Also, there was a no-no going on, but did that finish in a no-no? The game has gone final, and no, it did not. The pitcher for the Braves took the no-no into the 8th inning, and then that was it for his no-no. Other finals, before we take the break: the Cubs beat the Giants 9-2. Reds were shut out by the Braves 4-0, despite a no-hitter for Smith Schwaber that was going into the 8th inning and almost went the distance. Meanwhile, the Royals knock off the White Sox 3-0. The Brewers beat the Astros, and the Marlins are knocked off by the Dodgers. Ongoing right now in the top of the 8th, the Yankees lead the Padres 3-0. Heading to the 9th inning, the Cardinals lead the Pirates 6-3, and no score in the Athletics and Mariners game. The Diamondbacks lead the Mets 1-0 in the bottom of the 3rd. All right, our timeout is overdue. We'll take a break, come back with our series upcoming look around, and of course, a look at the standings. And next time on Blue Jays Game Recap, it all happens when we wrap up Double Trouble and Blue Jays Game Recap on the other side.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down. Nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Blue Jays Game Recap. Blue Jays and the Guardians, the final segment of the show, final portion of our Double Trouble. In case you missed it earlier on our show, as we've been talking about, Game 1 of the 3-game set with the Nationals and the Guardians, not the Blue Jays, the Guardians, is going to be made up as a doubleheader. Time to be determined, but we do know that game number 1 will take place at 3:35 p.m. Eastern, and we know that game number 3 of that 3-game series will take place at 12:05 p.m. Eastern time. Now that can change, but the game going down tonight from Nats Park was postponed due to inclement weather, and will be made up as a double header playing out on the night game as a night game at Nats Park. But game number 1 of that series will play out at 3:35 p.m. Eastern. And that pretty much will kick us off with what our first segment of this fourth and final, I should say, segment starts off with. It is our upcoming season series. But in case you missed it earlier, like I said, doubleheader for the Nats and the Guardians on Tuesday because of today's game getting postponed into inclement weather. After this showdown with the Nationals, the Guardians head home for 3 against the Philadelphia Phillies beginning this weekend on Mother's Day weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all who celebrate with their wonderful mother. I know I will be celebrating some Mother's Day. Maybe watching some Blue Jays baseball. We will see. Then the Guardians will welcome in the Brewers into town, as that is a 6-game homestand. Then they're on the road for a couple games, including the Reds, Twins, and Tigers as we enter the end of May. Now for the Blue Jays, next up is a 6-game road trip that will start tomorrow night or tonight, depending on if you're catching this on a Tuesday. Most likely you are. They will play 3 against the Los Angeles Angels starting at 9:38 p.m. Eastern Time. Then they will play 3 against the Seattle Mariners, with game number 3 going at 4:10 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, May 11th, 2025, on Mother's Day, which is May 11th. That should be some great fun. They'll return for a 9-game homestand where they will take on the Tampa Bay Rays, Detroit Tigers, and the San Diego Padres. 3 games, including a school day game on the last game of the homestand. Following this 6-game road trip, they will do a work from dome game on the last day the Rays are here. And then it's Barbie game day Saturday during the Tigers series. First pitch set for 3:07 p.m. First pitch for Junior J Sunday set for 1:37 p.m. And the first pitch for most of those games set for 7:07 p.m. The only game in the Rays series that is set for an afternoon start is 3:07 p.m. work from dome. The Padres game is a 1:07 p.m. start Eastern Time, as it is a school day game. Alright, with that said, next time on Blue Jays Game Recap, we will be talking about the Mariners, and I might even provide some thoughts on the Angels. But speaking of that, check into our show that will drop ahead of the Mariners series, but also be recorded ahead of the Angels finale, for some quick opening thoughts on the Angels series, and of course, some opening week thoughts on the Blue Jays season so far. The PWHL playoffs start on Wednesday. We'll talk about that on Thursday. The Stanley Cup playoffs are in round number 2, and lots of big news in the PWHL happening, including 2 expansion teams. It's all happening on episode 11 of season 4. So be sure you don't miss it. As for Blue Jays Game Recap, that will be coming back to you next Monday, May the 12th, after the holiday, Mother's Day on May the 11th. And for all those listening ahead of Mother's Day, I hope everyone has a wonderful Mother's Day weekend. I know I sure will. And with that being said, there will be another episode of Sports for Beginners the week of the San Diego Padres. So that will be after we do another episode of Weekly in Sports, hopefully on May 27th. We will do that recording on May the 28th. It is Victoria Day in Canada, but it's also National Patriots Day on May 9th. So we will try to keep our Blue Jays game recap going. Listen in on May the 12th. For which of the 9 games in the homestand we will be covering. I can already tell you for certain, we will be covering the opener of the 9-game homestand for the Blue Jays. But please stick around for our Monday show for Blue Jays Game Recap to find out more. Who knows, if we don't do the Tigers, we will definitely probably be doing the Padres. You're just gonna have to stick around and wait and see. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined us on this double trouble. I really look forward to putting it all together for you, and it's a lot of fun to put together. It's a lot of games to get to, but we make the best of how we can get to it. Blue Jays taking 1 game out of 3 against Cleveland, winning 5-3 on Friday. They lost 5-3 on Saturday, and they also lost 5-4 as of late yesterday to the Guardians. Guardians take 2 of 3. They will next play at Progressive Field. When exactly is that? Well, it will be at near the end of June. Can you believe it? We're now about 3 months into this season. The All-Star game's coming up in a month's time. 2 months' time to be exact, as we stay in May. And Canada Day will definitely be coming up in 2 months' time, as we are still in May. But where does the time go? A special double trouble ahead of the White Sox series in Chicago will be happening on Sports for Beginners on July the 6th, recapping the games against the Angels and of course against the Yankees. The Yankees games will be a special Canada Day game recap show, even though it'll be basically a week after Canada Day, which is on a Tuesday, but looking forward to that nonetheless. And the Yankees series, by the way, will begin at the end of June, and it's a pretty long one, so make sure, if you're gonna head down to the ballpark, Blue Jay fans, you head on over to bluejays.com or go on to mmlb.com/bluejays/tickets, or even head on over to Ticketmaster to grab your tickets for upcoming games. My name is Scott McGregor. That is it for this one. Thank you so much for listening/watching. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Until after Mother's Day, we are out for Blue Jays game recap, but I look forward to catch up with you again real soon on Blue Jays game recap. And for everything else that I said, we will see you next time. But please remember that it is not goodbye. It is always, and I mean always, until next time. We'll see you soon, Blue Jay fans.
Thank you so much for joining us on Sports for Beginners, the podcast, for Blue Jays game recap, the after show on Sports for Beginners, the podcast, right after every Blue Jays game. To learn more about upcoming episodes, when they drop, and schedule, please visit https://sportsforbeginners0.wordpress.com. Follow the show on Facebook at facebook.com/sportsforbeginners87. Send us an email at sportsforbeginners87@gmail.com. Follow Ali, Thomas, and Scott on Twitter at Scott McGregor3, Thomas J, and ALI Musa. Follow Thomas and Scott on Instagram at SMC_87_ and TM_80 and TM00_. Thanks for listening to Blue Jays Baseball, and we hope to see you soon again. This has been Blue Jays Game Recap. Once again, the website is https://sportsforbeginners0.wordpress.com. Thanks for listening. And when it's time for the Blue Jays to play ball, there's only one chant Blue Jays fans will be using. Catch you later, baseball fans.